Shalom Aleichem, Gute Woch, and it's wonderful to see everyone here tonight. Welcoming all those that have returned from Chutz La'aretz, the Kaplan family, Baruch Hashem. And we have with us tonight the weekly amazing miracle story. It's perhaps a continuation to the topic that we were speaking about last week. Last week we spoke about the fact that we don't hold weddings during the counting of the Omer. Now after Lag BaOmer, there are those that have the custom that the customs of mourning are already not kept from after Lag BaOmer. Many actually do keep the custom. Some keep it only from Lag BaOmer till Shavuos. And for instance, in the Chabad custom, we keep the entire 49 days of the counting of the Omer, the eve of Shavuos, maybe not necessarily counted for haircuts and so on. And weddings are already held from the Shloshis Yemei Hagbola, the 3 days before the holiday of Shavuos. So when we're talking about holding weddings, nevertheless, during the days of the Omer, we don't hold the weddings, but we do manage the making of potential weddings. In other words, shidduchim, and this is also the last, like we said, the last week's story and the continuation of the topic in this week's story as well. Our story goes back in the I believe it was like the 80s or 90s, early 90s, Mems or Nuns, and there was a Farbrengen. There was a Farbrengen by the Rebbe in 770. The custom is that people hand into the maskiros bottles of mashke, and these bottles are in honor of different programs and different happenings that are occurring in the communities around the world. And the shluchim that put in the bottles of mashke on Shabbos go up to the Rebbe in order for them to receive the mashke from the Rebbe's hand. After the Rebbe mixes it together with his own wine in the mashke, and everyone, the custom is everyone makes a proclamation. In other words, they go and they say in front of everyone what their program is going to be. And there were many bottles that were given out this particular Shabbos at the Farbrengen, and there was a fellow, a guest from a very fresh person connecting with the Yiddishkeit, with Chabad, from France, and he saw what's going on, and he got very excited because he thought, wow, like anyone that would can just step up to the Rebbe's table and the Rebbe will give him a bottle of vodka, a bottle of mashke. Sounded very exciting. So that's exactly what he did. Our friend's name here is David Asulin, from the city of Crete, or the neighborhood outside of Paris, Crete. He went up and he put out his hand in order to ask for a bottle of mashke, and then the Rebbe looked at him, and then the Rebbe looked at the secretary, as if to say, "Where is this gentleman's bottle?" And the secretary looked down, and he didn't understand whether this person gave a bottle or didn't give a bottle, but there were spare bottles apparently underneath the table. Rabbi Groner gave the Rebbe a bottle, and the Rebbe went and opened it, mixed it with his own wine, and gave a l'chaim to David Asulin. And then David Asulin, instead of going and the Rebbe told him, first of all, to make sure to give out from the wine now during Shabbos, because then it's not as he's preparing from Shabbos to the weekdays, and this is the custom by all the people that received the mashke from the Rebbe. And then, as he was about to turn around, the Rebbe says, as he hands the bottle, the Rebbe says to him, "And this is for the wedding." Now, David Asulin was caught by surprise. He didn't really understand what exactly this means. Maybe he thought he didn't hear well, or he misunderstood what the Rebbe said. As he gave the mashke out, he went to his rabbi, the shliach from Krite, Rabbi Melul, Chaim Melul, and Chaim told him, "What in the world did you do? I mean, did you put in a bottle of mashke to the Rebbe?" He said, "No." So I said, "Why did you go up if you didn't put a bottle in the mashke? And so you're not supposed to go up to receive. The Rebbe's not giving out bottles of vodka." So he very timidly says, "Well, that's what it looked like, and therefore I get excited. I went up." Okay, and what did the Rebbe say to you? Not everyone was able to hear, but they saw that the Rebbe said something to him. And so he said, "That's where I totally cannot find my hands and my legs." He says, "What did the Rebbe say?" He said, he gave the bottle to me, and he said, "This is for the wedding." "Well, what's the problem?" He says, I'm happily married. I have children. What am I supposed to do with a bottle of vodka for the wedding? We already had the wedding a long time ago." Rabbi Melul says, "Listen, when the Rebbe says something, the Rebbe is very accurate in every single word, every single letter. So therefore, there has to be something behind this, and we'll live and see." They finished their stay at the Rebbe and they returned to France. While they were in France, so David Asulin told his wife, and his wife is looking at him, and she says, "What do you want to do? Get married again?" So he said, "No, God forbid." So he says, "So what are we supposed to do?" They went to the shliach, Rabbi Melul, and he said, "Listen, go and we'll put together a farbrengen, a Hasidic gathering. But this Hasidic gathering is going to be a very posh gathering. In other words, you're going to go and you're going to make it on the level of a seuda, of a festive feast, of a wedding, and that's how we'll fulfill the Rebbe's request that it should be for the wedding. The Farbrengen will be a Hasidic gathering in the form of a wedding." So they start planning, and his wife and David Asulin, they have all kinds of invitations sent out to many people, and they were planning. They have a very beautiful home and garden. They were planning to do it, the Farbrengen, at their home, but then all of a sudden the week of the Farbrengen is that the Farbrengen was meant to be held. So David's wife said she is not feeling well, and she's not up to going and preparing and hosting so many people at her home. What are they going to do now? So they go back to the shliach, and the shliach said, "Listen, these kind of things happen. I'll look into what possibilities there are." And then he came up with the idea to do the Farbrengen in a beautiful hall that is adjacent to the synagogue in Ronsey. Ronsey is the neighboring neighborhood, not far from Krite. And they called up the rabbi. The rabbi said, "Sure, it's fine." They called up a kosher catering service, and the catering service said, "Yeah, we can prepare it. It's a little short notice, but we can prepare the feast." And they had about maybe over 100 people invited to this Farbrengen, men and women, and so on. They showed up at the hall in Ronsey, and it was beautiful. It was like just set it was glorious, literally like a wedding hall. And there's a table of honor for the for those that received the mashke and the rabbis. And as they're sitting down in order to begin the farbrengen, the rabbi from next door, from the synagogue, comes into the hall, and he says, "Listen, I'm in a predicament. And I need a minyan. I need a minyan next door in the shul. Usually, when people need minyans, so it's not always the happiest of occasions. People need minyans to say Kaddish over someone, God forbid, that passed away. But over here, he says he needs a minyan, and he doesn't look like he's shedding any tears. Anyway, there was a minyan that came out from the farbrengen into the synagogue, and as they enter the shul, they see there's a canopy set up, beautiful, nice white canopy, and there's a chosen and kala. There's a bride and groom standing underneath the canopy. And the rabbi explains that he asked people to be present in order to have a minyan, because this couple wanted to get married, but people didn't show up, and that's why he was short for the minyan, and he had to ask them to make up the minyan. Well, it was a beautiful, the chuppah was held, and there was these sheva brachas that were said. The wine was they drank the wine and broke the cup. And after this, everyone said, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. And then David Asulin looks at the couple and he says, wait a second, there's nobody here for the chuppah. Where are you going from here? So they said, well, we're going to go home to eat dinner. We say, eat dinner? You're a chassan and kala, you just got married. You don't eat dinner the night of your wedding. You have a festive feast. So he says, well, I'm sorry, but we didn't prepare it. I mean, this is the most that we were able to get together, to have the chuppah, and to be able to be married. So David Asulin looks at the shliach, Rabbi Melul, and they both smile, and they say, you're not going home to have dinner. You're coming to the hall next door. And they say, the hall next door? Why? They didn't even know about the farbrengen. The chassan and kala, together with the rabbi, they come into the hall, and they look, and they're blinded by the beauty of everything. The tables, everything is set up to the T. Beautiful, beautiful. The silverware and the plates, and wow, who is this for? So David Asulin said, it's for you. So I said, for us? What do you mean? How did you prepare all this? How did you know? We didn't even know that we're having our wedding tonight in this synagogue. I mean, we invited people, but it wasn't. Listen, and David Asulin went up to the table of honor, grabbed the microphone, and he told the entire story, the background story of the bottle of mashka that they received from the Rebbe in honor of the wedding. They were not able to fathom what wedding, how wedding, where wedding, but here and now they see that the Rebbe's words have come to fruition, and this entire Suda is in honor of the wedding of the chassan and kala. At this point, the story is not over. At this point, the kala, the bride, starts pouring tears down her cheeks. And people don't understand, this is, maybe they're tears of joy. What is she crying about? And then she says, if I may, I would like to fill in the story. And they give her the microphone, the kala, and she says, first of all, thank you for everyone being here, enabling us to have such a beautiful festive meal in honor of the wedding. But I really have to tell you the background of this wedding. And she starts saying that this is not her first wedding. She was married previously years ago. The marriage didn't work out, and that couple, that marriage was dissolved, and she continued as she was looking for to build a new family. She was very cautious, and she felt very uncomfortable all the time when she was going out with potential husbands, chasonim. She didn't feel that she was able to trust these men. She didn't feel that she knew. She wanted to feel that this is her bashert, that this is her match from heaven. What does a person do when they want to go and make sure that things are in synchronization between heaven and the mundane physical world? She knew Chabad, and she wrote the Rebbe. She wrote the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach about the individual that she was going out with at that point, which was this husband, the chassan at hand. And she wrote the Rebbe that she's asking for a bracha, and way beyond that. She said, I'm not only asking for a bracha, but I would like the Rebbe to give me a sign from heaven, like she asked, that this is my basheret, this is my match from heaven. And the blessing for the shidduch, the Rebbe forwarded. The Rebbe sent a letter, but the sign from heaven, she was still puzzled because the Rebbe didn't write anything about any sign from heaven. And it works out that months in advance, when David Asulin was by the Rebbe, and he stepped up in order to receive a bottle of mashke, a bottle of vodka, that he did not give in, and he did not schedule. The Rebbe goes, and the Rebbe gives him a bottle of vodka, a bottle of mashke, and he says to him, "This is for the wedding." And as we said, he was totally puzzled until this point. And this is how we see the sign from heaven that the Kala was asking for. She said, "I couldn't ask for a greater sign than the Rebbe sending mashke to my wedding, putting together an entire wedding, not only the ceremony but the feast in honor of the wedding. I couldn't ask for a greater sign from heaven that this, my husband," and she points to the chassan, "is my bashert from heaven." The Eibusher should help. Hashem should help that all the husbands and wives, they should all be on a good and revealed basis, the zivugim from heaven, and whether they were initially so or not, in retrospect, Hashem should work it out, and he should make sure that it's all proper and it's all it's all the appropriate connections, and everyone should have shalom bayis in their home, with beautiful children, and educating the children for the generations to come. And the main thing is we should be way behind the days of the customs of mourning of the Omer, and we should have the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach together with Rabbi Akiva and the 12,000 pairs of students that perished in the plague, and we should be all together, Be'ezus Hashem, in the third and the eternal Beis Hamikdash, and the true and the complete Geula. And the main thing is it should be Teichef Umiyad, immediately now. Yichi Adonenu Mareinu V'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMoshiach Chai V'Kayim Le'olam V'ed. Amen.